I'm asserting my dominance. Kong Skull Island is the second entry into Legendary's MonsterVerse and stars an all-star cast of Tom Hiddleston, Samuel L. Jackson, John Goodman, Brie Larson, and John C. Reilly. And in this film, it takes place many decades before the events of Godzilla. After the Vietnam War, a group of scientists and soldiers travel to an uncharted island that is known to be called Skull Island, where little do they know it's inhabited by terrifying creatures and a giant ape known as Kong. The first time that I actually did watch King Kong, I was 7 years old in the theater watching Peter Jackson's version, and then later on in life, I would grow up to watch the Jeff Bridges and the original 1933 version. So yes, you can actually say that I love and respect the heck out of this character. But when I first heard the idea that they were making a cinematic universe between Godzilla and Kong, my first reaction was, really? Kong is going up against a 300-foot tall dinosaur? That doesn't make any sense. But just hear me out, I did not grow up watching the original King Kong vs. Godzilla film. I thought it was a dumb idea because coming from a person who's only watched the original films, the Kong I knew was only 20 to 30 feet tall. So here I am thinking like, he can't be bigger than that. But with this film, my God, he is huge. This is the biggest version of Kong that I have ever seen. And just like he should, he just takes down everything. Monsters, helicopters, even people. You just don't mess with Kong. And the scary part is, despite the fact that he's over 100 feet tall, he's still growing. So yeah, imagine that. Unlike most of the King Kong films where there's a lot of depth and meaning to it, this film is taken to a much more action-packed adventure ride approach, akin to Transformers, which I'm personally fine with. I had Peter Jackson to show the character of King Kong and the island of Skull Island, so nothing is going to top that. Kong Skull Island shouldn't even try, which they didn't. The action sequences in here are both visually and physically on point in this film. And unlike in Godzilla, it does not shy away from any of it, and it does deliver an amazing style. Easily the best part in this film is Act 3. It's just a full-on monster brawl with an ending that left me satisfied. The two biggest issues that I had with this film were the human characters and Kong himself. In Act 1, there is no Kong until we get to the helicopter showdown, so before that, the story is pretty much a slow burning drag to where we meet these characters that we will soon forget and don't even care about throughout the story. And that's the thing, none of these characters in the film have good character development. There are quiet moments here and there where a little bit of character is shown and the actors do a pretty good job at what they're given from the script, but those moments don't really feel earned because I really just don't care any about those characters, and they also feel half-baked. So I could have cared about them, but I just really don't. Ultimately, everyone in here is a stereotype. You got handsome Tommy Wiseau over here as this adventurous, badass protagonist with 5 o'clock shadow, but literally he is one of the most hollow protagonists that I have ever seen in this film. And then you got Brie Larson, who plays the somewhat damsel in distress with human characteristics, but we really just don't care about. John C. Reilly, who's pretty much the goofy comedic relief, who is probably the only character that we actually like and care about in this film. It's just not enough for it, but he should have been second billing to Kong just behind him. And then finally, we have Samuel L. Jackson, who plays the villain, who should have been treated more like a villain and then less of one that makes sense, but they should have just went overboard with it a little bit. That's just my take on it. There's a whole slew of actors and actresses that all do a damn good job, but only for a mediocre script. I just wish that they were just fleshed out more. And yes, you can contradict me saying, well, it's a monster film. Human characters don't really matter. Yes, that can work for a Godzilla film. But when it comes to Kong's filmography, there's a certain standards for human characters, and if they just had met that certain criteria in this film, then the film and the characters would have worked. And to make matters worse, Kong doesn't even feel like a real character himself. He doesn't even have a scene where he's alone. And for a movie where his name is in the title, we don't even feel emotionally attached to him. He's just as bland as Skull Island itself, which, by the way, feels more like sets put together instead of the home of King Kong itself. There is this Batman vs. Superman vibe where we literally have these larger-than-life icons fighting, but the issue is we don't really care about them because we haven't spent enough quality time with them. And Legendary really blew it because they had the opportunity to create something better and create an emotional gravity to this universe, but it didn't. And I can sadly say that Kong Skull Island, I would have to say it is my least favorite film within the MonsterVerse. But regardless to all that, the action and editing were able enough to save the day to actually say that Kong Skull Island is both an enjoyable yet entertaining film for all of us to see. And if you're just one of those people who rather just come in and just see a bunch of action and blow shit up, then this film is a 7.5 out of 10 for you. But for my final score, I'm going to give Kong Skull Island a 6 out of 10. But just to say this, A Man Falling from Sky, John C. Reilly, and King Kong Alliance versus Samuel L. Jackson after he lost the Vietnam War would have been a much more interesting and dynamic film. A Samuel L. Jackson Vietnam War prequel with Kong being in the post-credit scene. That would have upped the ante. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Look forward to my next movie review on the MonsterVerse, which is going to be Godzilla King of the Monsters. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, subscribe here to the channel for more content. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.